Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you are likely aware, CMS recently modified its billing methodology for compounding pharmacies providing drugs used in implanted pain pumps. This change jeopardizes access to necessary pain medications for some of Medicare's most vulnerable beneficiaries. Even more, this change, prohibiting compounding pharmacies from billing Medicare directly, eliminates an important accreditation requirement designed to protect patient safety. Pharmacies billing Medicare directly for these drugs must comply with Medicare supplier standards and federal regulations such as U.S. Pharmacopeia 797. These standards provide an additional layer of quality promotion and patient safety for compounding pharmacies and dispensing sterile products for use in implanted pain pumps. On the other hand, pharmacies which sell their compounded products to physicians, clinics, or hospitals are not required to be accredited since they do not bill Medicare directly. In light of the recent tragedy relating to a pharmacy which appears to have been acting outside of its licensure, I believe it's critical that CMS and FDA encourage models of care that promote patient safety. Saying this, do you find it concerning that CMS, in the wake of a tragic outbreak, is encouraging pharmacies to sell drugs directly to physicians as opposed to billing Medicare directly and complying with quality accreditation standards?
You know, I am really not an expert on the CMS policy in this regard, and so I think, many aspects of your question are probably best directed towards CMS, but with respect to the FDA role, I'd like to be able to look at the question you've asked and get back to you.
Would you be willing to look into that situation? And if you are indeed concerned about that, would you be willing to express your concern to CMS about that?
Yes.
Okay. In September 2008, the head of the FDA New England office, Mr. Shamsi, emailed a senior FDA compliance officer, Ms. Otter, and asked to do a new inspection of NECC due to concerns about sterile injectables. Now, sterile injectables are difficult drugs to make, am I correct?
That's correct.
Some have questioned whether compounding pharmacies should even make these drugs, am I correct?
Some have, yes.
At the time the request for a new inspection was made, the 2006 warning letter was still pending because FDA hadn't replied to NECC's response to the warning letter. I'd ask if you would refer in your notebook to tab 19, if you could look at that. Tab 19. In this email from October 1, 2008, Mr. Shamsi, the current head of the FDA district office, emailed Ms. Otter, a senior compliance officer, and asked whether, quote, our lack of response would hinder any further action against NECC, close quote. Mr. Shamsi believed the FDA lawyer in the chief counsel's office would be reluctant to approve an injunction if they hadn't replied to NEC's response to the warning letter. It seems like FDA staff were considering serious, it seems like if they were, the FDA staff were considering serious enforcement actions like enjoining the company, but a breakdown in process was preventing the agency from taking decisive action. Is that a correct statement?
As I said before, we should have been more prompt, but it is the case that during that period, there was a series of court decisions that were altering the landscape with respect to the application of relevant legislation with respect to FDA authorities. And that was, unfortunately, slowing our response. I hope that we will not be in that situation again going forward. That is why I am here really saying that we do need strengthening and clarification of our regulatory authorities. We do need new laws that will enable us to be able to provide the clear, consistent, and uniform regulatory oversight and action with these compounding pharmacies that are making, as you point out, the higher risk sterile products.
So in that situation, no matter the risk, FDA was not willing to do anything.
Again, I am a little bit uncertain about, how much detail to speak to because of the ongoing criminal
Okay,
investigation.
the ongoing criminal investigation, which you have nothing in writing advising you of constraints for that, correct? You've said that. There's nothing in writing. Do you have anybody here from the U.S. Attorney's Office that's here with you today to advise you on which questions to answer or not answer?
No, I don't.
Has there been any communication from the U.S. Department of Justice to this committee advising you what you should or shouldn't respond to?
There has not been formal communication to this committee, no.
Yield back.